about it as the Verbo Fiesta Bowl parade presented by Lerner and Rowe, which is honoring the Fiesta Bowl organization over the last 53 years. I've been fortunate. I've been a Yellow Jacket for over 25 years. And a traditional 2-mile march through central Phoenix will occur on Saturday morning. And one of the grand marshals that will be there is our next guest, Richard Jefferson, former he's an ESPN analyst, of course, NBA player for many, many years. And he joins us now on Fox Sports 910. Richard, it's Rock, it's Minuch, it's Jimmy B. Thanks so much for joining us. Have you been hitting the gym, getting the wrists ready to go for the wave on the float?
I will say this. I was very fortunate to be a part of one of the best/worst parades of all time. After Cleveland won a championship for the first time in 50 years, they weren't prepared for the amount of people that showed up. So if you guys want to take a quick Google glance of what that parade looked like, it was a car where there were cars literally just moving a sea of people because there was no barriers. After doing that for a couple of hours, I can do this manicured, perfect parade. I got the waves down.
That's great. And for those who don't know, he's a former Moon Valley High School graduate, University of Arizona. Of course, had an incredible year in the NBA and now an analyst. And, we want to get to that in a moment. But how special it is for you to be recognized for where you grew up.
It's everything for me. I view Arizona, I was born in LA and I moved to Arizona when I was 8 years old. Left South Central Los Angeles during a very difficult time, and my family moved to Arizona. And from there, those are all of my first memories, my best friends, all of the stuff are all West Side Phoenix guys. Shout out the West Side of Phoenix. So just to me, it really shaped who I was. And, I've said in other interviews before that, I named my son Phoenix. And it's one of those things that Arizona is so near and dear to me. Yes, I can't stand Arizona State, but my best friends and my mom went to Arizona State, and I went to Arizona. My mom taught at community colleges throughout Phoenix. So just to me, I'm so Arizona through and through. So to be recognized by my state as a representative of the state, that means a lot to me.
Richard Jefferson here on Rock Minuch with Jimmy B, Fox Sports 910. Richard, 17 years in the NBA, and you couldn't get 1 year on the Phoenix Suns? I mean, that would have just...
you know what it was? And look, I want to promise you that the timing never worked out. I was actually jealous of Channing Frye that he got to play in Phoenix for as long as he did. But when I first got started, we were really good, and Phoenix had Steve Nash and all of those guys. So they had Sean Marion, they had Amari, they had Joe Johnson. They didn't need me. And then fast forward, when I was kind of a free agent later in my career, that's when the Suns started doing their rebuild. So then the Suns started to rebuild, and I'm like, I need to win a championship. I can't be going to that. So the timing never worked out, but Phoenix would have been number one on my list had it been an opportunity to pick.
And speaking of the Suns, Richard, the whole, I guess, bemoaning fact for a lot of fans here with the big three, Durant, Booker, and Bill, how long do you think they're going to take to gel and for the team-wise to get those guys up to speed on par? Is it a couple, 2-3 weeks, be a couple months? And what kind of situations have you been in before you have three outstanding players trying to gel at the same time?
But look, I've been very fortunate where I've been a part of a three when it was Jason Kidd and Vince Carter and myself, and like we were kind of the three-headed monster in Jersey. But I've also watched Kyrie and LeBron and Kevin Love all work together to figure it out. Tim Duncan, Tony, and Manu. I think what people need to understand is that it takes time. Talent is like, if you were to pair them up against the Denver Nuggets and a group that's been together for 6-7 years now, same coach, same system, Jokic, Giannis, Porter, they've all, Jokic and Jamal Murray. All of these guys have been together. They've played together. They have the same system. So for them, they start with a 6-point advantage, right? They start 6-point advantage. So I just think it can take time. I think they're going to be a great team. I think they have a chance to win a championship this year. But I think moving forward, they'll be even better because that familiarity just brings you closer when you've been in the fire together.
With what you just stated about the Denver Nuggets, in your opinion right now, are they still considered the best team in the NBA or the best team in the West? Where do you have them right now, the defending NBA champions?
I think that they are the best team in the world, and I think that they have the best player in the world.
Richard Jefferson.
I land on those bad boys.
Oh, no, I'm agreeing with you 100%, the way that Jokic plays and what he does for that team. He is so instrumental in not only their offensive sets, but he's not a great defender, but at least he can play some team defense, and that's key when you're trying to win an NBA title.
Agreed.
Richard Jefferson joining us here, Rock News JB. Richard, I'm just curious with the Draymond Green and what may happen, indefinite suspension. If all of a sudden you become the commissioner of the NBA, and if something like this would happen with the history with Draymond, what type of punishment would you put down?
I think the league got it correct. I think there's going to be, some things when they say he's got to hit some marks. They're probably going to want to try and give him the help that he needs. And I like it when the league tries to suspend a player, and then once they see that that's not working, instead of just piling it on, they try and get a person the help that they need. And I think that's the proper way to go about it. Obviously, the suspensions from the team that were separate from the league, because he's been suspended for conduct detrimental to the team a few times. Then the league suspension, and they've escalated 5 games, and then to have an incident like this, just like a couple weeks later after coming back from your suspension, now it's like, okay, this is beyond, and I think we need to get you some help, and hopefully you listen and you follow, the things. But I think the league got it right from that standpoint. Just putting a number on it, and these are 3 smart words. And putting a number on it doesn't really help him.
And my last question for you too, Richard. You got to look at Steve Kerr and that staff. They look like they're totally exasperated with him or the organization. With something like this, do they confer with the organization? Because I'm like yourself. They don't want him coming back unless they feel that he can hit the benchmarks of being hopefully mentally healthy before they start playing him again.
Well, teams sometimes to the detriment of the player tries to protect the player as much as they possibly can, right? And sometimes that's what you want, and that's great for the organization is if players see that you're protecting them, are trying to help them, or trying to handle things internally. But when it gets outside of that reach, right, it's no different than, I don't want to compare it to a child, but if you're not disciplining your child inside of your home, then they're going to most likely misbehave outside of your home. And then sometimes that's out of your control. That's out of your control. And this is outside of the Warriors' control. I don't think they really talk about it. They might work with the Warriors to make sure he hits those benchmarks or whatever they've established that he needs to do. But that's probably it.
On the lighter side, and this is a very important question, when you were at the parade in Cleveland, did J.R. Smith ever wear a shirt? Did he ever wear a shirt that you know of, Richard?
It wasn't the parade, sir. I want to make sure you understand this. It was from the moment we won the championship to about 4 days after that he did not wear a shirt.
Wow.
At restaurants, everywhere he was going, he was not wearing a shirt. That's why, it was so epic, because it's like people saw him for the next 5 days without a shirt.
And now he's like a big time golfer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing pretty well in that world.
You have to wear a shirt on the court.
Yeah, you have to do that.
You do.
Well, hey, Richard, great stuff. We are so glad you took some time for us. Like I mentioned in the open, I've been on the committee for many, many years, and I'm real excited that you and Jake Plummer accepted the invitation, and I think you're going to have a blast, as you know, and I'm excited to see you on Saturday, and thanks so much for taking some time today.
40.
Oh, thank you for having me.
That's Richard Jefferson against the Verbo Fiesta Bowl Parade presented by Lerner & Rowe. It's this Saturday, 10 o'clock, Central Phoenix, and tickets are available if you want VIP grandstand. All you got to do is go to fiestabowl.org.